So my colleague Isaiah Small suggested I come on the air miming like Shador Sanders, basically talking without words. However, I got plenty to say about the Miami Dolphins in day 2 of Life Without Tyreek here on this Dolphins in Depth podcast provided to you by the Miami Herald. Joining me is Isaiah Smalls, Miami Herald beat reporter. We were just arguing about Shador Sanders, and I made the great point that Shador did something classic, hilarious, fitting. I loved it because he shouldn't be the story. However, we're going to make him the story by the fact that he's not even playing. He's not even he's barely the number 3 quarterback. He's barely even getting practice squad reps. But everybody can't keep Shador Sanders' name out of his mouth. And he's not even the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Daniel Gabriel's is. And Shador did an interview and moved his mouth, but didn't make any words come out. And I thought it was brilliant. Isaiah one-upped me by saying the statement that Shador Sanders should have said to avoid making himself part of the story. Go ahead, give me that line.
It's very, very simple. All you got to give is a simple I have no comment other than I'm excited for Dillon Gabriel to get his shot. Boom. That's it. You say that and you're no longer the story. Now the story is this man is making somebody's church going auntie very, very happy because he's doing his best mime impression. I'm in a box. Come on, bro. Let's not do this. Let's not do this. It's just a little bit. Let's talk about Dolphins because that's what the people came to hear. Not my musings about weirdness going on in Cleveland.
But that's the whole purpose and one of the many reasons. I think I've seen 3 or 4 instances why teams selected him in the 5th round and why everybody stayed away from him like a hot potato. Because hell, if Shador Sanders was here as the number 2 quarterback, we heard calls for Zach Wilson as the replacement for Tua during this 3-game stretch. And y'all know anyway. Let me stop. So you know what was going to happen, and every team wanted to avoid that. But the Dolphins have their own issues, and the first of which is life without Tyreek Hill. I have heard 2 times by 2 different players the same statement that I think about, and it really resonates with me. Tyreek Hill is an irreplaceable player. There are a lot of players in the NFL who another guy can get another opportunity and step up or do well or fill the void. And despite what we want to say about Tyreek for the off-field stuff or the attention-seeking behavior, his energy is unmatched. His work ethic is unmatched. His playmaking ability, because he's a different type of – he's not the best receiver in the NFL, but I would argue to you that he might be the best playmaker in the NFL. That's going to be difficult to fill. And Jaylen Waddle said it twice now. Yeah, his leadership, his energy, we can't replace that. And no matter what we can do, we can't replace that. But he did have a message for the rest of his teammates, especially his wide receivers. Do you play your game? Don't try to be anything other than what you are. And I think Jaylen truly does believe that, because I personally don't believe that you can say, okay, Tyreek is down. Let's put Jaylen Waddle in Tyreek's plays, and everything should be fine. So how do they make up for the absence of Tyreek, Isaiah?
To your point, I think it's a collection of players, right? It's something that McDaniel has emphasized time and time again, especially throughout the crazy injury history of the Dolphins. You can't replace superstars with one player. It's going to take a collective effort. So that means Malik Washington has to step up his game. Waddle has to step up his game, right? D. Eskridge has to step up his game. Taj Washington, Nick Westbrook, Achane, all of them are going to have to raise their levels of play in order to totally replace Tyreek Hill. It's not a single effort, right? And Tua today was talking a lot about the difference between throwing to a Tyreek and throwing to a Darren Waller. And it's truly just speed, right? Like it's how quickly he gets out of his breaks, whether it's an in or out breaking route. And that's going to be an adjustment of sorts. But I mean, look, man, Tyreek is very fast. He's all that stuff. But, what I'm more so interested in is how defenses change what they're doing, against the Dolphins, right? Tua mentioned that the game that Tyreek didn't play, they were actually in their base defense, right? And they just did that the entire time versus, against who they play last week against the Jets, they were in a lot of too high, right? Against the Bills, they're going to play in a lot of too high, right? And so it creates more opportunities for you to do different things, right? If you look at the Waddle's, I believe, but the game in 2022, I believe, with
the Jets, I believe.
Yes, without Tyreek, he put up like $142 and a touchdown, right?
Yeah, but that's because the Jets are a little bit arrogant in their secondary, and they believe that Sauce Gardner is that dude. I don't agree. But that's on them. But they paid the consequences for that. I need a name from you. I want one name. Can't be a running back. Can't be a wide receiver. Who is the second leaded target player behind Jaylen Waddle?
Like you said, it can't be a
running back or tight end. I need you to name a receiver.
Name a receiver? Because I know second on the team in catches is Devon Achane. I know that for a fact. And I'm pretty sure maybe not yards anymore because he didn't really do much from a catching perspective. But probably Malik Washington.
So you've got Malik Washington. So he's going to step out of his slot receiver role, and you think he's going to go to that flanker spot.
Yeah, and he did it a little bit in training camp too. You can see a lot of the stuff that he was doing. It was a nice mix of both, right? I think people forget that the highlight of whatever day it was, excuse me, was that deep ball that Tua connected with Malik with, and that one was very surprising because I don't think we as a media totally realized that Malik had that breakaway speed, right? But then at the same time, look, Tua's all about timing, right? And so the fact that him and Malik were on the same page on a deep route, nonetheless, I think was huge. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in the future. Look, if you have a fantasy team, I'm adding Malik Washington to my roster. I want to just see what's going on. Who knows? It might be profitable, it might not. But I think at the very least, you got to add him.
Here is Tua Tagovailoa talking about his relationship with Jaylen Waddle and also developing chemistry with Mr. Darren Waller.
My first 3 years with him, first time he came to the league, he's been able to have 1,000-yard years, those first 2 years in the league for him. And so it's one of those where we get right back into that. And, Jaylen understands the offense a lot better than he did, the first year Mike came here. So I trust that he's going to be where he needs to be. And we've built that chemistry from Alabama all the way till now. But that doesn't, Jaylen knows that doesn't give way to me just always looking for him as the target. We got to go through the progression and see what the defense wants to run now that 10 is out. Do they still want to stay in the too high deals, or do they now like their matchups where they can sort of crowd the box now?
With Waller, where are you in the chemistry development stage? I mean, obviously, first game, 2 touchdowns, pretty good.
Yeah, no doubt.
But I know you're a quarterback who you like to get that work in to develop and create a groove. Where are you in that?
We're still trying to work through that. The first touchdown throw to him was an eye opener for me, just given the length that he has. In a way, that was a trust throw where I felt like, dang, that was high that I threw that ball. And for him to get up and make a play like that kind of gives me, more of an insight of what kind of ball I can throw to him if he's ever coming across the middle, or if it's a one-on-one matchup with him on a go bar or whatever that looks like. There's still some routes that we still got to tidy up and get on the same page with. And day like today, tomorrow, and Friday, we'll be able to work those kinks.
That's Frank Smith's guy, as I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
What did Frank tell you about Darren before you even got on the field?
The biggest thing that Frank told me is, as long as you put it in his vicinity and you give him a chance, you know, he should come down with it. And even in practice, you know, like when I tell you I've tried to do that like purposely too, like he does come down with it, and it's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, Darren Waller, who made his Dolphins debut, scored 2 touchdowns in the game. Interestingly, he talked on the Dan Le Batard show, who, by the way, you know, I think Dan is the best interview in the world. So Darren revealed something that nobody else knew. One, I thought it was to his credit that he said, you know, playing in that season opener after the long journey he had rehabbing was like, it felt like being on drugs. And
probably should have stayed away from that statement specifically.
I mean, he has never hidden the fact that he's a recovering addict.
Yeah, I know.
Alcohol and drugs. In fact, he's probably the face of addiction in the NFL. He's done a ton of work to help people in regards to their walk with sobriety and drug and addiction, and walked away from the game because of a divorce, because of not divorce, but depression.
Yeah.
So
I get it. I understand what you're saying. However, like, there's some real sick people out there, right? You remember what happened last year when Mike McDaniel came in with his hair a little bit more grown out and the sunglasses? What would they say about him?
The drug dealer? Yeah.
Exactly. So, like, I just, you know, in this market specifically, maybe let's stay away from the drug, the Scarface, all of those references. Let's just, you know, let's just
Mike
put
did
it in our
look
back
a little
pocket.
bit like Scarface, though. Hold on. If we're gonna be real about it, Mike did. He did have. I mean, think about his introductory press conference picture and Mike today.
Yeah. The back and forth, like the before and after, excuse me, was a little bit funny for sure.
Here's my thing about this passing game, and as I said earlier, you're not going to replace Tyreek Hill. I've shared this story before. I have communication conversations with a lot of NFL executives, and these are private conversations. I remember 9 years ago, an NFL GM said to me, "Yeah, we're trying to find us the next Tyreek Hill." And at that time, Tyreek didn't have a name. Tyreek was like out of his rookie season with the Kansas City Chiefs, but everybody in the league knew he was about to tear the league up. And it's just the quickness, the speed, the acceleration, the burst, the separation he could create, the amount of attention he draws. The opposing defenses, I mean, they have to obsess about Tyreek. Now they don't necessarily do. And thing is, you can't have Jaylen Waddle running these jet sweeps and these motions and these orbit runs and these, you know, it's 15-yard sprint, cheat motions. And like, that's just not his game. So I think that they're going to leave Jaylen Waddle to do what Jaylen Waddle does. And somebody else is going to have to step up and do a lot of that cheat stuff and motion stuff and running clear outs. And in my opinion, that's going to be D. Estridge. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Nick Westbrook-Achane is probably the next guy in terms of stature, in terms of what they've done and accomplished in the NFL. 8 touchdowns last season. Dolphins signed him to a respectable, not big, but respectable free agent contract this offseason. Got off to a slow start, but he does create a big body weapon target for the Dolphins that would add a different dimension to the offense. And I did indeed ask Tua about, you know, the differences between the spacers, which create better separation. That's what Tyreek is. That's what Waddle is, as opposed to the big body catch radius guys. And he's had both in his career. He had Devontae Parker, who's a big body catch radius guy. Devontae Parker, I would argue to you, outside of Julio Jones, nobody in the NFL caught the ball in traffic better than Devontae, primarily because Devontae ran horrible routes and was always covered. But if you threw it up there, he could go get it. Oh, yeah.
DeAndre Hopkins? Come on now.
Oh, okay. All right. That's fair.
Like, come on, guy. Come on now. Like,
okay.
and I'll give it to you. Devontae Parker he had some nice years.
I mean, he wasn't good at much, but
yeah, he could high point the ball for sure. But I mean, come on. There's a few guys that I'd have to say in front of him. Chief among them, D-Hop.
Yeah, but D-Hop could do other things like actually run good routes or run deep. Devontae couldn't do none of that. Devontae basically could high point the ball. Not to disrespect him in his game, but
you could only do one thing well, not to disrespect you or your game.
That's the truth. And what lie did I tell? Like, what lie did I tell?
Go ahead.
So here's my thing. Malik is a slot, a shifty, make you miss kind of guy. Okay. Young rookie. This offense is notoriously complicated to learn, notoriously complicated to play right away, which kind of justifies and explains why they signed an injured Cedric Wilson off the New Orleans Saints practice squad. Mm-hmm. Cedric knows this offense. End of story. I don't think Cedric Wilson's ever been good in the NFL, but Cedric knows this offense.
Jeez, man.
What lie did I tell?
Yeah, go ahead.
What you keep acting like I'm telling lies?
Yeah, I think the D-Hop or the D-Hop omission was a lie. This one,
that was an omission. That wasn't a lie. That was just I ain't even thinking. That wasn't. I mean, come on now. Like, yeah, who high points balls better than D-Hop gets? Like, what was I? So
you're saying Cedric Wilson wasn't a good NFL player? That was the last thing you said.
Again, what was the lie? Anyway, sorry.
I'm just trying to draw your memory. Keep going.
Let me move on. So clearly we're on a youth movement. So that means playing the young players, seeing what they can do. Malik Washington's a young player. He knows all three positions. I think they're going to try to not put too much on his plate. I think you're probably going to see Malik maybe elevate himself into the starting role when they play two tight end packages, move into the slot when they play three wide receiver packages, where Nick Achane probably becomes the split end and Waddle goes into the flanker role. And then if we need a backup slot, we got Taj Washington, who will now be elevated. And then Cedric Wilson's probably here for insurance. But you know who's going to space the field, which I think is very important? D. Eskridge.
Okay.
Think about all the clear out routes that Tyreek Hill would run, all the motions that Tyreek Hill would run. And let's be real about it. And I'm going to be real about it. D was the best receiver in camp that wasn't named Tyreek or Waddle. Would you agree or disagree with that?
I disagree. I think Malik Washington showed me a little bit more.
Word?
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, I think his connection with Tua is the thing that was the most improved, right? I think that's like when you're like on a checklist of things to do on this team, obviously know the playbook, right? But then gain Tua's trust, I think, is 1B to that, right? And so that's why I think you haven't seen NWY, have that much flash, right? Because he just hasn't earned Tua's trust like that, right? And we could see it in the preseason, or training camp season, he wasn't catching the ball to the best of his ability. He had a few days where red zone day he kind of dominated, but other than that, it was definitely not what you would expect from somebody that got a pretty, to your point, a pretty modest deal with the Dolphins, right? And I think that just goes back to, Tua has his guys, right? He wants to get those bankable reps with guys. That's why Waddle and him are so close. That's why you saw Malik Washington kind of blossom over this last training camp. And then, D's definitely there. I think he's on that list, but I think he's definitely behind Malik Washington. So I'll be interested to see, how this offense really just comes together in general, because I think one of the things that might be undervalued, right, in this entire conversation is Devon Achane's pass catching ability, right? I think that he's a guy that obviously we've seen him catch a lot of balls from Tua the past year plus, right? But why not use him as another pass catcher, right? Especially if Ali is playing well, and it's just interesting to see.
You want to play Ali and Devon on the field at the same time?
I'm just saying, why not? I think it keeps the defense honest. I think it keeps the defense honest. It
keeps an extra linebacker on the field, but if I'm in a passing situations, why would I care if I have an extra linebacker on the field? I want my best pass catchers. Not to say that Devon Achane isn't the best pass catcher, but can he run every route in the route tree? I don't know. So
I don't know that. I don't know how the answer to that question. But I will
now, could I make Devon my jet sweep guy, my motion guy, my gadget guy? Maybe. And have Ali in the backfield. We could explore that. I'm very curious to see how creative Mike McDaniel can be.
Of course.
But as I wrote in a Miami Herald column, what I find very interesting or ironic about this situation that the Dolphins find themselves in, and the exact roster move that they made on Tuesday, is I want to give you a little bit of Dolphins history. Do you know that Cedric Wilson signed a 3-year, $22.3 million deal with Miami the offseason of 2022 with the intentions of becoming the starting receiver paired with Jaylen Waddle up until a trade that sent 5 draft picks to the Kansas City Chiefs for Mr. Tyreek Hill surfaced. And then Cedric Wilson couldn't even claim the slot receiver role. He was leapfrogged by 2 other receivers. So it'll be interesting to see how now we're right back at baseline in terms of this is how Mike McDaniel initially was going to begin his tenure. And so I'm very curious to see how creative he can get, how innovative he can get, his ability to problem solve. Here is Jaylen Waddle with some advice to some of his young receivers who are going to be called on to step up.
I mean, we never look at it like receiver one or 1A, 1B. I think it's more like a media thing or something that, gives something the media to talk about. We all go out there, make plays, just try to help our team win. So it's not a receiver 1, receiver 2 type of thing. It's, being able to go out there and contribute and help your team get a W. Yeah, man, seeing my dog, bro, that's one of my favorite teammates all the time, bro. So having him back, it's definitely, good.
With these young receivers, Achane and Malik, what do you hope that they show in this opportunity? D as well, that's created for them.
I think they showed enough since they've been in the league. Esco been in the league for a while. Malik has definitely made the name in the league. Not through special teams, through his contribute when he get in the game. Just go out there and play, bro. That's our whole thing. They're gonna get much more opportunity. Go out there, play free, play fast, be you, bro. Don't try to, be something you're not, or just play your game and you'll be all right.
Yeah. Now
I didn't even realize I was featured in that video.
Oh man, we got to see the fresh dude. We got to see the fresh dude. Show the people the hair.
You already know. Nice little shout out, Coco. I gotta clip this and give it to her because my lactation be fine with it. So
we'll see. What are your expectations of the biggest challenges that the Dolphins will face heading into that Carolina game where they're apparently on their 3rd starting right guard?
Yeah, I mean, to me, this is a game where you should, because also I saw that Chuba Hubbard might not play as well. So, look, to me, this is a game where you can kind of reestablish your identity on the interior of the defensive line, right? Look, the past 4 weeks haven't gone great. They haven't, right? But I think this is a game where they can try to establish that identity. I'm not saying they're going to establish this identity. Yo, why are you looking like that, yo? I think that this is an opportunity for them to try to go out there and do it. I'm not going to say they will, right? But I think sometimes in the NFL, when you get a little bit of success, right, you get hungry for it. You taste. Once you get that little taste, you want more of it, right? So this could be a game where they get that little taste. They're like, okay, Like let's get it, and then I think this can carry on to the next week because again, what issues are the Chargers having? Offensive line issues, right? They are missing. Their two guys have gone out, right? They're not hearing them. They're not coming back, right? At least prior to that game, right? So I think this is a game where you can try to establish yourself on the interior of the defensive line. I need a sack from Zach Sealit, right? I would love that. Would love to see KG get involved in stopping the run a little bit more. He had a few more plays last week, but nothing extraordinary, right? I think everyone's talking about where's that signature play, right? That he can have, right? He had the deflection against the Patriots, right? But he has been missing that signature. Like, okay,
I just need him to be average baseline, get back to the foundation. I don't need no sack. I don't need no block balls.
I'm not saying that. I didn't say that. I'm not saying that. I said I want to sack.
You a big 335. That's a lie. 335-pound guy. Don't get moved off your gap.
Yeah.
So let's just start there. Baby steps to this Dolphins defense. Tomorrow we'll talk to Anthony Weaver, defensive coordinator. He vowed he called for violence last week. We'll see if we had enough violence from the Dolphins defense, which squeaked out a victory. Let's be real about it against a very bad Jets team.
Game, like people are celebrating like they won the Super Bowl in that locker room. Hey, bro, like
no, they're celebrating the release of a lot of the tension.
I agree.
Not that win solves anything, but can you imagine 0-4?
Yeah, I mean,
I told you I was going to release the Kraken. Like, you buy yourself a little bit of time right now. You buy yourself a little bit of time.
But again, like 1-4 don't really look that much better than. And I'm not saying that I have them winning this week. I don't think they're. I think.
Hey! As the GIF says that somebody put out, the Baltimore Ravens are also 1-3.
Yeah. That's my favorite. My favorite.
If you haven't seen that GIF, it's hilarious.
Is it talking about the Office one? Where it's like,
the Office one, yeah. And they use Kansas City after like 0-2.
At 0-2, yeah.
Like we alike. No, y'all not the same.
Yeah.
So on that note, Dolphins in Depth, we will be back Friday. Hopefully you'll continue to tune in, watch, listen to the podcast, and look forward to our continued coverage here on the Miami Herald.